Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's Jabba the Cool here. Today I'm going to be talking about the new movie Thor Love and Thunder. I recently saw it on the weekend with some friends, and I thought I'd talk about it today on my channel. Just know this is a spoiler review, so that you've been warned, there'll be spoilers. I'm going to start with the positives, things I liked, then I'll move into the mixed, which is things that weren't, they weren't good or bad, just they fall in the middle, and then my negatives, which is things I don't like. So first things off, to start off with the positive, I thought that Natalie Portman did a really good job in this movie as not only Jane Foster but as Mighty Thor as well, because she is returning from Thor: The Dark World, and I thought that she did an excellent job, especially in her fight scene and in scenes when she's on with Chris Hemsworth and Keith Thor, and I thought the chemistry was really good in this movie as well, because in the first two Thor movies the relationship was kind of boring, so I thought they did a good job portraying that. Another thing I liked was towards the end of the movie, there's a scene which is a nod to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's like Cork's boyfriend, and I really liked that. It was funny. So that's just another thing I liked. I thought that Korg and Valkyrie were pretty good in this movie as well. Korg does a lot of the narration in the movie, and he's kind of like a nice little side character for Thor. So is Valkyrie. She has her moments as well, which I really good and I really like. And last thing I liked was actually Gore the God Butcher himself, aka Christian Bale. I thought he did a very good job in the role. It was a pretty good villain. I just think they could have gone a little bit more darker with him, but I think they didn't do that due to the nature of Thor: Love and Thunder. So it being this goofy movie, they didn't lean darker into him, which is fine. But overall, I thought he did a pretty good job. So now we're going to go into the mixed, which is things that I said they're not necessarily good or bad, just things I thought kind of fell in the middle. Starting off with Thor himself, I thought Thor in this movie wasn't as good as he is in the first three Thor movies and in Avengers and all those other crossover movies. Generally, because I thought that they were kind of overdoing it with him. Like there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where he's showing off, he takes down a whole army, and he's holding two ships apart with his legs. And I thought it's bizarre that he's able to take that whole army, something that like Guardians of the Galaxy weren't able to do. Like they weren't able to at least help out taking down the army. And another thing too is I thought they made him overpowered in this movie, specifically when not able to give powers to people. Like, yeah, there's a scene in the end of the movie where he gives his power to some kids and they help him in the fight, which I thought was a bit bizarre. And I just didn't like Thor too much in this movie. I thought Chris Hemsworth did the best he could with what he was given, but what he was given was not very good. And now we're going to move into another thing that was in the middle, which is Zeus. I didn't care too much for him. I just wanted him off screen as soon as I saw him. I thought he wasn't portrayed well. They could have portrayed him a little bit better. I liked that his views were different because he believed that the world of God, which wasn't a threat, and whatever that was fine betraying him like that. But I think they could have made him a little more tougher. And I'm not saying like physically tougher, but I think they could have made him more, maybe like slightly less jerky. But I thought he was fine. Another thing that was for me in the mix is that there are two post-credit scenes. One which introduces Hercules into the MCU with Zeus there, which I didn't particularly care for. I never really wanted to see Hercules on screen. Might be some others who wanted to, but I never particularly cared for him too much. And yeah, I just like it. And the second one was basically Jane Foster showing up in Valhalla, which is heaven for Asgardians, and she ends up meeting everyone being into Heimdall once again. And I thought it was just like a nice little cool moment to have Heimdall back and for the shoot kind of meet. So yeah, I enjoyed the second person scene. Are they worth seeing in the theaters? I would say no. Like you can easily just skip them and either just watch it online or wait till it gets on Disney Plus, unless you really want to see the first one, because the second one just kind of just wraps up a little thread from the earlier on in the movie. So it's up to you guys if you want to stay, but I wouldn't say you have to stay for the post credit scenes. Not actually. And then lastly for the mix is the fight scenes, music, and the look. I thought the music was fine, but the movie wasn't anything special. Nothing popped out. I like how they added the "Oh Sweet Child of Mine" by AC/DC. I thought that was really good. Um, the fight scenes were okay. Again, nothing stood out, but it was good enough to make the movie entertaining and it was good. And the way the movie looks, it looks good. There is one scene just in the trailer, which is when Thor sees Jane for the first time. He's like, Jane? And the helmet he's wearing just, it did not look very good. And I think it was a CGI helmet. It did not look very good compared to the helmet Jane was wearing, which I think I got a photo up here. You see that in this picture, the helmet Jane has, it looks much more lifelike and looks better on her head compared to the one Thor had in the movie and slash the trailer. You know what I mean when you see that. So I think they could have maybe either given him a real helmet or just made the helmet look better. Other than that, I thought the movie looked good. Like Korg looked good. I guess he's all CGI. It looked good. And overall, a lot of the costumes looked good. So yeah, so now we'll get to the negatives, and this is stuff I actually didn't like. First up being is giving Thor a daughter. Look, I don't like the idea specifically because it's the daughter of a guy who just tried to kill him, and Thor barely even knows Gore. And like, of course, we'll look after the daughter. He's a good guy, but I feel like there are other ways that could have satisfied Thor being lonely. Like they could have used the eternity thing to save Jane, right? But and like I was talking about this a buddy of mine, and they said to me, well, Gore got there first, so that's why he wished for the daughter. But when Thor does his whole spiel, you do it out of love, don't wish for all the gods to die. I thought what was going to happen is because when he sees this, he sees Thor holding Jane in his arms, and I thought that was a cool callback to when Gore was holding his daughter in his arms at the beginning of the movie. So I thought he was going to say that, and he's going to be like, hey, look, when this happened to me before, and I didn't get any help to save my daughter, and there was no reward for it. So now I'm going to do what that God didn't, and I'm going to help Thor this time. I'm going to save Jane, and then, I'll just die anyway because I'm dying and I get to see my daughter in heaven or wherever he goes off to. Because my problem with him bringing back his daughter is he can't spend time with her anyway. So because he can't spend time with the daughter, I didn't see the point of him bringing her back just to see her for 20 seconds until he dies, or a minute, however long it was. So I thought it would be nice because he could be out with her in heaven or whatever, they go off to, and then Thor gets to live with Jane for the rest of the time. Because I thought we could have as a side character. Because another thing too is I'd be okay if it was like a biological daughter, like say he had it with Jane or they adopted one. But I thought the way they kind of gave him a daughter just didn't make sense to me, and that's why I didn't like it. Another thing too is there's some cringy dialogue and some plot holes. Specifically, one that was asking me for cringy dialogue is when Jane is fighting. I forget if it's Gore or some of the shadows, but she's like, "Oh well, my name's not Lady Thor. It's Mighty Thor. If you don't if you don't like that, it's Dr. Jane Foster. If you don't like that, eat my hammer." Something like that. And I thought the line was very cringe. I literally went to my friend next to me, and that was very cringe, and I thought it was a cringy line. And there's also some plot holes, like specifically two things that come to mind to me was the eternity thing, something that grants a wish for anything. So why didn't Thanos just use that to ask for half the universe to be erased? Right, I guess maybe he didn't know about it, but still, you can use that to ask for the stones. Iron Man couldn't use that to ask him to fix Ultron. Just felt like a cheap way to kind of end the movie. And then another thing too is that Thor being able to give powers to people. So why didn't Thor give his powers to the Avengers in the first Avengers movie, or in Age of Ultron, or in any other team movie? Why didn't he give it to Hulk in Ragnarok? So that's just creates some flaws, and it's like, why didn't you do that? Again, that's them overpowering Thor, which I didn't think they needed to do. Another thing I didn't like was specifically with Sif and Valkyrie and Korg. They each had a scene to themselves where they got injured, and specifically more so for Korg and Valkyrie, it looked like they were going to die, but they didn't, because they had half death scenes. So my frustration towards that is I kind of wish they at least killed one of them off, because then they could have showed stakes for the villain, oh, this is a serious threat. He's gonna be killing off more people. So I think that could have been really interesting. And I know for me, it bothers me a bit, but it doesn't bother me as much because I know with Marvel, they don't like killing off their characters often unless it's a big Avengers event or something like that. So it doesn't bother me as much. but I still would have liked to have one of the characters die. Which then leads into my next point of they brought back Jamie Alexander and Natalie Portman, Sif, and Jake Foster or Mighty Thor, kind of for nothing. Like Sif was there for like 3 scenes or 2 scenes, and I think in the background of another scene, but nothing. I thought she was going to join up on the team, which would have been pretty cool because we saw her in the first 2 movies. I forget she was in Ragnarok, and then they brought back Jane Foster for just this movie, and I thought she was going to be like a mainstay. I thought she would stay for a bit because I actually did get kind of like her character in this movie, so it was a shame to kind of lose the character. And then lastly, it's just nothing that was like good or bad, but it's something that was kind of interesting to me. Is that a lot of people are praising the movie, saying that it was like hilarious and it's entertaining and it's very funny. I never really found it that funny. There was like a couple jokes that I liked, like for example, the one that was a nod to Dwayne the Rock Johnson, girl's boyfriend, or and something else. I forgot what it was. But I never really found the movie like that funny. Like it wasn't like Ragnarok. Ragnarok was really funny, or even the Guardians movies were very funny. Another thing I wanted to mention was the goats. I wasn't crazy on them. They were okay at first, and then they just got annoying really fast. But they weren't in the movie a whole lot, so it didn't bother me as much. So yeah. Uh, Overall, I would give the movie a 5 out of 10. It's an entertaining movie. Like you'll enjoy it if you like Thor Ragnarok, but it lacks depth with the story. What I mean by that is that it lacks. It felt like they didn't think the story through, and they were just putting it together as they went on, which is a shame. And it's sort of like any Thor overpowered that they just did that just so the movie can work. So what's my recommendation? My recommendation is if you enjoy Marvel movies and you liked Thor Ragnarok, I think you'll enjoy this somewhat. I think you'll still enjoy this if you're a Marvel fan, but I think that this one specifically, it's up to you whether you want to see it or not. Like, if you really like Thor, I'd say go see it in theaters. If you're being a little bit more critical, so you're not sure about it, I'd say you just wait on Disney Plus and just watch it on Disney Plus. But it's up to you whether you want to do that. So yeah. It's funny though. Another thing I want to mention is when coming out of this movie, I didn't feel disappointed or anything, and it's because for me going into the movie, I knew that there was some criticisms toward it, and which made me a little bit nervous. Like I saw Sean Chandler's early review, which was he said it was a mixed bag for him. The story felt like it was taped together. He's explained, and I could see that when I saw it. So I wasn't as disappointed. So I would also say when going into this movie, just know there is some criticism and some stuff going around it, and keep your expectations like low-ish, like medium low. Like don't have it too high, because then you will come out disappointed. So yeah, did you check out the one? Let me know, because I want to like you can talk about it and let me know what you thought of it. But that's my review. As I said, I give it a 5 out of 10. I thought it was entertaining, but just lacked depth with the story and some of the characters. And that's pretty much it for now. Let me know in the comment section if there's another movie you want me to review. I'll most likely work on a Thor ranking video, so look for that one that's ready. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.